as we approach Valentine's Day, we've decided to send our love to our viewers by taking a stroll into the Meeple Gallery.
That's right. We got so many good viewer comments from you guys, and it's a love-in. It's a love fest. It's a love shack, baby. All right.
Thank you so much.
Starting off, one of our big videos at the start of the year, of course, was our preview of all the 2019 releases coming out. But you may be shocked to hear we didn't cover all of them, and so some people chimed in with games they're looking forward to that maybe we didn't mention, which we appreciate. First of all, Aeon's End Legacy we did mention, but we had not played the original Aeon's End. Well, Heath Washburn recommends that we try it, says it's a great game system, and he, as well as another user, Devin Gans, pointed out that the original Aeon's End, we had talked about maybe like Kickstarter exclusives that were going on when that campaign went on. They said that actually those Kickstarter exclusives have all been sold as expansions. The exclusive part, if I recall correctly, was that they were included for free.
Okay.
So it sounds like if that's something that you're worried about, you can go out and still get all the components for that.
I did not know that.
And a bit of a tease for Aeon's End Legacy is maybe we will be including some of that on our channel in the near future. So look forward to that. Halo X30 says, "Where is Yellow? Bunny Kingdom expansion?" So they're excited for that. We didn't
I'm shocked you didn't say that.
I mean,
as the king of the bunnies.
I mean, that's right. If you've seen our the interview from PAX last year, you know about the King of the Bunnies. But that game's supposed to be pretty good, so yeah, we should try and play that. Kareem Thalgard said, "Can't wait for The Awful Orphanage, Brook City, Things from the Flood, and Tales of Evil. Definitely also keeping an eye out for Detective. That should be pretty soon."
Oh yeah.
We're excited for that. Freaky Felon, what a name, said looking forward to Batman and Claustrophobia 1643. Also the new one from Brotherwise Games, Call to Adventure. Hadn't heard about that one, but Brotherwise, you know, they did Boss Monster, and they have some good stuff coming from them. Hoser 40K said Dominant Species, Marine, Oceans, and Wingspan. I'll wait and see how the Aliens game looks and plays, and I'm curious to hear more about the Return to Dark Tower game Restoration Games is restoring. Yeah, I don't remember if we mentioned that in the show or not in the preview, but
I don't recall. But at least he's very excited to see some animals.
Yeah, lots of animals going on, and I am anytime as we always pretty much gush over Restoration Games. Always cool to see what they do. Louis Eng said, "What about Zombicide Invader?" Okay, cool. I'm sure that'll be fun. We just don't care about Zombicide, but you know.
Yeah, that's one we passed by. Yeah, unfortunately.
Maybe someday we'll get to it if you people want. Richard Plata and David Arlington both lamented our lack of one that I'm actually surprised we didn't mention, which was Nemesis. Which is a big one.
I had some issues making sure all my pledge stuff is coming through.
Right, because you backed it.
I did.
Yeah, so, and it's Awakened Realms, if I believe. Yeah, so yeah, I mean that's definitely a Alien-esque game that we're looking forward to quite a bit. Daniel M had a whole bunch. He said Eclipse, Second Dawn for the Galaxy, the new edition of Eclipse, Dungeon Alliance, Miremarsh, Tidal Blades, The Everrain, and Tiny Epic Mechs. Definitely some big titles.
Oh yeah,
to look forward to there. So many. Check out that. There's more people talking about in that comment section.
There could be I have to go over our review list again, but one of the reasons maybe we missed some of those because I recognize some of those names as with the word Kickstarters would be the thing. And I know with Nemesis, actually, another reason might be because I kept mixing it up in my head because I also backed the game Alone, which I got because they both are like alien-human thing.
They have similar covers too. Yeah. They're like, they're a little.
But they're different games. For some reason, in my head, I always mix them up. So I'm like, I had that, so I probably didn't think about it at the time.
Right.
But you're gonna be excited when I get Nemesis because it comes with a cat figure.
Hey, I'm into it. I love cat figures. No.
Like all the aliens as the cat's like cosplaying as all the aliens. It's really silly. It's like
I definitely want to play that game. Yeah, no, I'm hyped. Do you know when it's supposed to come?
Wave 1 is shipped out, so a lot of people have. I believe all my stuff coming Wave 2 though. They said in the email because I was trying to check that, and that was the issue. So I'll have to wait and see.
Okay, yeah. All right, we'll keep an eye out for that one. Moving on, we reviewed the Escape Room movie. I know a lot of people were anticipating that one highly.
Oh yeah.
XX Pandemonium XX said, "Felt like this is a fun tie-in movie to the board game community. Thank you for putting on a video on it. Okay, cool. Some people liked it. The Sushi and Me said movie was predictable and meh. I enjoyed the Cube series and the Exam much better." That's another one I always see that movie on Netflix, The Exam.
I have not seen either of those, but I believe you have seen The Cube.
Cube, we mentioned in the review as well that I really enjoyed those. That's definitely a better movie, at least the first one. I don't know about the sequels, but
there's more than one?
Yeah, there's like 3 of them, I think. But it's something with these movies where if it's like low budget horror, they just feel like, let's make 12 of them. You can't just make one. You can never stop at one.
Well, it's because 5 people see it. We've made our money back.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get into some of the news stories we talked about last month as well. One of the biggest ones probably was Christian Peterson leaving Fantasy Flight. TapCat said, according to his LinkedIn page, Christian Peterson took on the role of CEO of Asmodee North America 3 years and 1 month ago. So it seems likely that the 3rd anniversary freed him from a non-compete clause or something similar that allowed him to leave and pursue whatever his current goals are. Seems like good speculation. I don't pretend to know him, but except for a few months early in his career, he's always been an entrepreneur and business owner until he sold FFG to Asmodee. My money is on him going back to starting another company. So, yeah, I think that's what we kind of expect, probably.
Well, what I'm curious now, first of all, the non-disclosure agreement is definitely very interesting. It's amazing what we can find out nowadays.
Sleuthing.
Is he, because Asmodee is a huge company, is it just, does he want to start a new company because he likes smaller businesses? Is it because he sees something that we don't see with Asmodee? I mean, we talked a little bit about this when company bought Asmodee, and what happens when it gets too big and no one's willing to buy it anymore, that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
definitely very curious. Or maybe, like I said, he's just bored.
It's interesting because it's not like it was some indie company, like, oh, the vibe must have changed. Like, Fantasy Flight was already giant.
Yeah.
So they just became part of an even bigger giant. So, yeah, I wonder if, my guess would be maybe there was something about the direction of the company he didn't like. Or maybe he just wanted more freedom. Who knows? Let us know, Christian.
He was sick of having the Star Wars license.
Yeah. We reviewed the game Welcome To. Fun roll and write game. If you check out our review on how to play about that stuff. And we asked people what were some of their high scores, town names, etc. Colin Shenefield listed a whole bunch. They had La La Land, Cowtown, Earth 2, Meepleville, Tokaido, Omaha. Some good ones. It looks like the highest score that they listed was 91, which beats any of our highest scores.
But I think, were you
I think I had like 79. I think I had like around
80s.
Somewhere in the 80s maybe, but yeah.
Better than mine.
So that's fun to hear about. Rico Cordova said he likes Welcome To. Said, my wife and I enjoyed it a lot. We like games with little to no player interaction, so this was right up our alley. We tend to gravitate toward medium-heavy Euros, but this is a pretty simple game with a fair amount of thinking involved. So far, I haven't won yet. Our first game had us using an expert variant city plan, which involved using 5 bis on the same street. Now, I wanted to read this comic because we ran into the same thing.
Yeah.
We used the same plan, and he says, if you don't know the game, it's a roll and write game, and BIS lets you duplicate the number of a house which next to your other house, which normally you cannot do. You're trying to fill in houses with different numbers. He says, I went for that objective and ended up with a net -4 for using it. Not only that, the lack of opportunity to use other feature cards throughout the game really set me back. I'm convinced it's not worth ever using BIS unless you are stuck, as it basically reduces your opportunity to gain a feature by 1 for each BIS used, and they're worth negative points. I'm going to be asking on Board Game Geek forums about this because I feel like we're not understanding the BIS feature. There's no way it's that bad. Yeah, I think we had similar thoughts.
Didn't we look up the same thing and someone said, like, this is a great one to rush early? And
yes, that it definitely sounds like whether it's good or bad, it's certainly something that requires you to really know the game well and have a plan. And I think if it's your first time playing, or even like second or third time, it can be really strange to think about.
Yeah, and I also wasn't a big fan of that particular one because, unlike all the other goals, is once you complete it, you can still complete it, but you'll get less points. For the BIS one, because I was trying to go, I think at least I was trying to, I don't know if our third person was.
I was going for it as well.
No, you got it.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember just thinking, like, even if I got the second place,
then
I'm losing more points.
Yeah.
It just felt much more defeating. Compared when the other one's like, okay, I didn't get the 8 points, but I got the 4. But that's like a difference between you getting 10 and me getting -5. Like, it's such a big gap.
Yeah, yeah. Let us know what are you doing with that BIS if you're making that work. All right, some other ones. Tim Teagan said his town was called Shangri-La. It's pretty good. Hoser40K counted the number of times we said welcome in the video, and it was 9 because you asked that.
I did.
So good to know. Good to have those stats.
I'm disappointed in us. We should have gone for more.
Should have been more. Yeah, it's not enough. Just yesterday, if you watched our news video, Fantasy Flight announced a brand new Star Wars game. But last month, they announced a brand new Lord of the Rings game. So clearly they're going full on with these licenses that they have, maybe especially after like losing Android and at least losing Netrunner. Yeah, they're trying to fill those things in. Let's not get into it. And some people had some thoughts on the Lord of the Rings game. Shane Anigans said, I agree with you. Wish it didn't have the Lord of the Rings theme and had something original or even Terranoth, my favorite tabletop IP. Don't know if that's an opinion I've ever heard anyone else express, but that's cool.
I think someone else has said that on it. Maybe it was...
Maybe it's the same guy?
Yeah.
I don't know. Let us know. As for mechanics, the big map / tactical combat tile is something that Folklore The Affliction does. Interesting to note. Tapcat, however, says, I love the Lord of the Rings world, and I'm very interested in the new game. I hope they stay away from the Ring Quest and focus on other untold events involving the characters we know and love, and lists some interesting adventures that maybe they could go on in that place.
Maybe find out about those actual blue wizards, I believe is the rank.
Are there blue wizards?
I think it's brown, is because we saw him in the Hobbit movie. It's the guy with all the birds.
Radagast?
Yeah, Radagast. And then there's blue wizards, which I don't think we know who they are. Then there's the gray and the white.
I don't know about all the, the Silmarillion.
I only know this because I know someone has explained it to me.
Yeah. I'm sure we're very intelligent. We know all about these things. Nataris X said, the Lord of the Rings game seems perfect for me, a solo player that wants a deep adventure game, but doesn't have a huge table to play Gloomhaven. I was going to get Mansions of Madness, but I'm going to wait to see how this game shakes out first. Doesn't hurt that I love the Rings IP and think Fantasy Flight will do a great, if expensive, job.
I mean, I think that's a great, just one of those two games are definitely, if you're a single player, highly recommend. I mean, I ranked the Mansion of Madness, which is unfairly comparing because it has more expansions, there's more stuff technically around, but if they follow the same path, that would be really great because you'll just get more little things to throw together, and that means if you decide to play through a mission again, that means some of those pieces may come back into there. So very excited and hope that it does follow the Mansion of Madness sort of pattern. Yeah, especially if you're like that situation where you're a solo player, it's hard to get that kind of deep experience. Yeah, and the app makes it perfect for that. You don't have to just turn pages and by yourself and try to come up with the story by yourself. Yeah. Along those same lines, Matt Bodes asks, hey gents, I have recently been more interested in campaign board games, but I'm a little hesitant to start. The Lord of the Rings seems like such a blast, but I have never played anything in that genre. Any recommendations on entry-level campaign games that may be fun to play solo or up to 6 people? Those are very different things. Thanks for the great content. Look forward to the next video. Thank you for the question. Yeah, campaign games entry level. It's hard. I mean, I can say I know. Well, what do you think? You got anything off the dome? No, because I'm trying to think of one. Because to me, entry level isn't just easy; it's also easy on the wallet. Like Mansion of Madness, I think is easy to get into and stuff, but it's expensive. I mean, I think bottom line, most campaign games, especially in this kind of dungeon crawler genre, are going to be on the heavier side. There's no way around it, really. Yeah, and when it comes to campaign games, I think unless you do the Mansions or Lord of the Rings, which have an app, or something like, I guess it's sort of a campaign in essence, like Pandemic Legacy, a cooperative. An Aeon's End Legacy, where it's all cooperative, so it can be single player. That's your only chance you're going to have the one-player version. I actually would say Pandemic Legacy or even Risk Legacy, I actually think are great places to start if you have the group for it, because they start with a very basic premise, and it only gets complicated more as you go. So that's a pretty good one. Plus, they're just fun, inventive games. Otherwise, if you're not looking for a legacy experience, Mice and Mystics came to mind. That's not super complicated, and it's kind of designed with, I think, almost to be able to play, at least an adult could play with kids. I don't think that has a Dark Overlord, if I recall. No, everybody's together. So that's another great one. Otherwise, I mean, for us, like Descent does have co-op modes now and an app. It does now. That's true. I forgot. So that maybe Descent is another one you could look at. But yeah, so hopefully that helps a little bit. Let me just unlock my phone again because it locked up. All right. People were asking about Suburbia because there's a brand new Suburbia Collector's Edition. That's on Kickstarter. I think it's over now, maybe? It might have been. I just know it was our Kickstarter. It was a Kickstarter. It was a Kickstarter. It's either over or maybe in the tail end. You can go look. Michael Mellon said, it's almost 4 years since we did our
Suburbia review, playback, I should say. And the collector's edition is on Kickstarter. Do you still play Suburbia? Has it been supplanted by other games? Do you still play Suburbia?
Not really. So I guess it was sort of supplanted, but I think a lot of that is more of just, I need to play this game, don't know how this one. Now I need to get to, like, we supplant a lot by
We're in a unique situation where we are playing new games on pretty much a weekly basis, so it's harder for us to answer this in a way that would relate to most people.
I will say I do always want to go back to it. I did enjoy it a lot. I like doing the solo mode of it and stuff.
We certainly played it a bunch the year after it came out.
And definitely all the stuff, I don't know if you've seen it, sounds so really awesome, like what they're adding on with the much nicer components and all that jazz.
Well, let's. So Luke L said, "I've heard that Suburbia has one good expansion and the others aren't really worth it. So I was going to skip this Kickstarter. Sounds like you both would disagree with that assessment about the expansions. I believe we played with at least one of the expansions.
You played with one of them,
and
that was the sideboard one.
Suburbia Inc. Is that what it was called?
I forget the names. I think that was
purple, right?
No, you played the one where you can add little boards to the side.
Okay.
And there's another one that had stars, which add more points, which I've done, but you haven't. Or at least if you have done it with me,
it was years ago.
Years ago.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Well, first of all, I think just because the deluxe, it's just nice to have everything. You know, I'm a sucker for having everything around. Like I need it all.
We're completionists.
Yeah, it's a bad habit.
Yeah, but you think
I like it. Just
enjoyed both.
Yeah, because you can try it, and because it's a deluxe edition. Like if it was piecemeal, like before, yeah, just don't buy that. But with the deluxe, you're like, yeah, just you get it all. You don't have to worry about it. You get the promos and stuff. You know, it's less hassle.
So consume is what we're trying to say, people. All right. Now, we also had a big discussion. A lot of people had thoughts about distribution in the board game industry. We had a whole video called Problem with Board Game Distribution. We talked about the printing issues, whether things go out of print too quickly, or they're hard to find, or they don't know how many to print, etc. People had a lot of really good thoughts on this stuff. John Whitesnake said, "That's why going to my local board game meetups is so important to me. Not only do I get to play new games that help guide me to what I would like to personally own, I get to play older games. Some of those older games are out of print, but I also know I can ask anyone in my group to bring it." Eduardo Lurero Jr. had a similar thought. He said, "I think we could apply sharing economy, public or private board game library networks, retailers, rentals, peer-to-peer rentals. We should have more options for playing other than buying our own copies." So that's maybe one solution, is just get a bunch of friends.
That's
right?
true. Well, the trick there with that one is the friends who each have their own collection. For example, for us, it's really you and me, one guy who has all the long Euro games except for Twilight Imperium, and your one friend who has all the games who are still in plastic wrap and hasn't opened anymore.
Yeah, so everybody mooches off of us. But definitely, like, I've never tried it, but I hear a lot of people, especially when you're like move to a new place, that the meetup.com thing I think is a good way to find people.
Well, like you said,
depending on where you live.
The library is, I think, a good networking, especially for any kind of that stuff. You can look on Facebook. An example is, I know for the Transformers card game, you know, a lot of people are like, who's playing here? So like, you got to find who's playing board games or whatever game you like, and that way you can actually make that network. And then once you go there, you can be like, "Hey, does any of you guys have Fireball Island? I haven't tried it out before." And someone can be like, "Yeah, we'll bring it in next time," or something, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, once you get a bit more trust, you can be like, "Can I borrow it?" Because, you know, pieces can get lost and whatever. So make sure you trust who you lend it out to.
Good advice. So that's one thing. Now, a bunch of people, one of the possible solutions or things to help the problem that we suggested
Take out half the population.
That was one of them, the Thanos solution. The other one was digital games. We talked a little about both digital on computer consoles. We even talked about VR, AR. Hubix Reds said digital versions are horrible. I'm a hardcore video gamer, but I like my board games printed. I have a bunch of FFG on my stash because they are the most available in my region. He went on to talk about different how developers should set true release dates for retail. Covered a lot of things we talked about.
For the board games or video games?
Board games specifically. But a lot of people echoed this sentiment that no, we don't like digital games, and I wanted to I hope people didn't misinterpret, because I know we never want to like replace physical with digital. I just thought, I think we both thought, that a digital game could like keep a game in public consciousness and lead to further printings of the real game.
Right.
So I think they both can live in harmony, is what I'm saying.
I mean, you see this in video games, like they'll go on Steam and it'll maybe keep selling, then eventually maybe like we made a collector's edition, or like Fallout is the big one I know that does that if it's big enough. So I think more of a place so you have access to it, not to replace.
And you have worst case scenario if it's just out of print. I mean, I'd rather have a digital version than no version, right? I mean,
and some of them are fine. I mean, we just did 2 reviews where one was good and one not so much.
Yeah, you can go check that out last week. Jeffrey Scott had a point that I really, really liked. Said, what are your thoughts about publishers putting out a game that you'd need to print yourself? 3D printing is becoming more and more a household norm. If a publisher gave me instructions, character sheets, backstory, and game dynamic, I'd be willing to 3D print the pieces and finish it up myself. You can get a good 3D printer for under $300, and I print a lot of terrain and minis for my D&D campaign. Why not for board games too?
No, I can't believe we didn't bring this up because definitely 3D printing is going to be something that they're going to have to keep on. I think like VR, both of these things are going to, if they get enough traction and become more of a common household thing, like a regular paper printer, that will change the board game. It could be back our Kickstarter and we'll send you the plans for this.
Yeah, I think it's such a smart solution, and of course it depends on, it takes a few years for everyone to catch up to that technology.
Right. I mean, let's say it needs to actually.
But once it's in place, I actually love the idea of what if like you would buy a board game on a CD. It was a disc, and you would like put it in a machine, and it would print out the board game. It'd be like,
please,
come back tomorrow. I know. Really, you would just download it.
You go to a site with 6 download buttons. You have to guess which one's the right one.
I still want a box on my shelf. That's the problem. That's me. But I think that's a really great suggestion.
Now, I just imagine, because I can easily see 3D for components, for dice, or for minis, getting special paper for printing cards and stuff, though hopefully I'm not cutting them because I'm terrible at cutting for proxies and stuff. But as far as I know, we don't have a good way to do cardboard boxes, so our shelves would just be full of bags now. Written Game of Thrones 2nd edition.
You'd start just buying boxes for things. Yeah, I don't know. Or what if it was like, oh, you know what? I mean, this is another like far future thing. What if you were like, oh, now I'm down. I played this game a while. What if you could repurpose the pieces, like deconstruct it and put it back into your machine?
Just melt it back.
And print a new thing.
Now just imagine you 3D printing like, I'm out of ink, I could go out, or I don't play this game anymore. Just
think about really how many of our problems in that video that would solve. Release dates, they don't need to worry about printing, so it can come out whenever they make it available, so they would know exactly when it's coming out. Number of copies, they don't care how many people want it because they get a sale for each, they just click a thing. It really is. It's a very simple and solution as long as we get that going. Obsidian Serious.
Tell all your friends to buy 3D printers now.
The next one is from Obsidian Serious Blackheart, which is a great name, and they kind of had a similar thing. They said, I think eventually 3D printing will become so cheap and quick, companies will be able to just keep the model files in a hard drive somewhere, and every time an order comes through, the game could be printed that day and sent off. So maybe even if it's not household, the companies will have access to it and will still relieve the burden from them. A lot of good stuff. Like I said, I can't read anymore. There's a lot of really good comments, a ton of good discussion. Go check out that video and read that section because there's some really good stuff in there. We reviewed the game Deep Madness.
We did. Some
people were scared by our review. The Ernie Force said, I kickstarted the game. I'm still waiting for it to be delivered. Now I'm scared to play it. Jeremy Boughton said, after my first few plays, I can say this is a really difficult game, and it has a lot of luck in it. A few bad die rolls or card draws can make a scenario impossible to win. I'm still making up my mind if it's a game for me. I would rather there were fewer monsters, which were harder to deal with. It's easy to get dogpiled by multiple monsters. So people were definitely finding agreeing with us about that challenge level. Kevy B said they were surprised that too much luck wasn't on our misses list. That's always a killer for me. I think we kind of lumped that into our difficulty.
Yeah, we probably
which is sort of what at least how I thought in my mind. But yeah, a lot of people, agreed with us. There was, however, one person who offered a solution. Byron Leavitt said, One thing you missed that is basically a required mechanic is that you can re-roll any die with a sanity token. This means that rather than only having 3 actions to roll at success, we may have said it, I don't know, you could actually have one roll with 6 chances, rest, then roll again with another 6 chances. This helps a lot, and I get the feeling you guys may not have picked up on that. I think we did. I'm pretty sure we were aware of that rule. Maybe we did not use it enough. I think that's
I'm going to say I did in the single player and remember doing that stuff, but for the characters who are already I used their abilities, so they already had they could only do 2 more times because they're already full insanity, and it didn't change the fact I couldn't roll 5 or 6 for my life.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you might get 10 rolls, and if you are trying to get one number, they could all fail. So, I mean, that's a point, and I think maybe that alleviates it a bit, but doesn't really change, I think, our issues with it. Portal had their big Portal announcements earlier this year. One of the things we said, they didn't mention the Robinson Crusoe expansion. I was like, I hope it didn't get delayed. Well, Acnis Dearth said, actually, he did mention the expansion at a Q&A after the presentation, which didn't see, and said it will come out in March. Ooh. So that's really good news for us. Pirate Mutiny, the card game, said, thanks for writing such a great news roundup. It's super helpful to stay in the know on new games. I'm newish to the online board game community. Any suggestions for places to stay up to date on the board game community?
Well, I'm glad you brought that one up after we missed something from board games.
Not from us, that's for sure. What do you think? Where do you go to stay up on board game community?
Well, obviously I go to
watch our own videos.
The big ones are obviously just for me, the Board Game subreddit and Board Game Geek. The problem is a lot of the posts there can be things like, how a bit more generic or memes and stuff. I think what's probably best is if you're a fan of the Arkham Horror card game or of the Mansion Madness game. For some reason, I decided to choose very closely related games. If there's a subreddit specific for the game that you like, that's a lot better because more people are likely to be especially if it's a card game, they're going to be they just spoiled this card. And then everyone's talking about how it's going to affect the meta and stuff.
Yeah, I find those are definitely more populated for, like you said, CCGs, TCGs. There's also a good RPG subreddits. There's a couple good sites. Dice Tower posts news, of course. Follow a bunch of these guys on Twitter. They're always, of course, posting news. Publishers.
The guy who does Stonemeyer, very good. He does a lot of interesting opinion pieces.
I would say there's a site, icv2.com. There's also one called tabletopgamingnews.com. There's a lot of those are all. If you kind of pull those together, I think you'll find resources.
We go to a lot of places.
All right, we're going to finish off our discussion today by talking about the new Villainous expansion that was announced. This is the Disney villain game, and they announced the new expansion, which had 3 new villains in it. The Evil Queen, Dr. Facilier from Princess and the Frog, and what was the other one?
It was Hades.
Hades from Hercules, right? The most famous one, I forgot. And people...
Wait, is Hades more famous than...
Well, he's more modern, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. So the animated Madness said, regarding Villainous, I voted so much for the Horned King. Disappointed he isn't in this box, but hopefully he will be in the next one. Is that Fantasia? What's the Horned King? Because I didn't look this up. I don't know.
I did not either. I wish you
Sorry, we don't prepare.
I do have Wi-Fi, so we'll find it. Go to read the next one.
Yeah, that's fine. Paul Wooten said, I'm happy with 2/3 of the villains. I'm not such a fan of the Princess and the Frog guy. I really want Cruella. A lot of other people echoed that. Cruella de Vil.
The Black Cauldron, that's why I didn't recognize.
Black Cauldron, yeah, okay. Good luck with that crusade.
I think I brought that up too, and it's been too long since I've seen it, I barely remember it.
Seraph XL18 said the poll was bogus with Facilier in. I hope I'm saying his name right, by the way. I haven't seen that movie in a long time. Can't believe Cruella or Scar didn't make it in. Even Gaston is way more popular. The Ernie Force said, I would love to see the arch enemy of Dumbo in Villainous, Gravity. Which actually made me think, isn't there an evil circus guy in Dumbo? Isn't that?
We'll find out in the new live action Dumbo.
Yeah. And then Alfonso ST said, surprised Scar and Cruella didn't make it in. Hades, I don't know why he wasn't in the initial release. Dr. Facilier I really wanted, so I'm glad. But kind of disappointed Frollo wasn't even in the poll. That's the bad guy from Hunchback. That's surprising to me too, because I know Hellfire is one of the most popular Disney bad guy songs. So I could,
Yeah, no,
would've thought he'd be in
I
there.
still think he's.
Why is
like,
he
I
in
still
there
see him
over
pop up.
Black Cauldron? Like that seems very, or even Fantasia, like these more obscure.
Yeah, it
choices.
definitely is interesting, and hopefully everyone will get their villain eventually.
Every villain will have their day. I think maybe as long as the game continues to sell.
But yeah, I didn't vote in the poll, so I didn't know it was. I thought you had to type it in.
No, they actually had options.
Oh, they had options.
They actually had options.
So they saw the Smash Brothers poll and like, we don't want people throwing in Shrek.
Oh, if only Shrek was introduced. Or you mean Farquaad.
Or Farquaad.
Yeah, he's a Disney villain. People, there's great ways that you can leave us comments and questions just like this, and we'll talk about them on our next Meeple Gallery segment. I do want to say I would love to hear, because we kind of relaunched our channel just about a year ago. We really changed up the format and everything. And I would be especially interested, especially from people who watched to the end of this video, or if you're listening to this on audio, tell us what you think. Is there anything you'd like us to do more of in the future in terms of the content we put out? Because we always need feedback like that from people.
And we're always up to do, if there's a certain game you want us to try, should be able to try to get it done. If it's older, maybe it's a little bit harder, but like I know a lot of people were requesting the new Mansion of Madness expansion. We finally got it, so hopefully we'll get an expansion review of that.
Same with later. People were asking about the new Legendary expansion, similar thing.
Yeah, that's actually been a very hard time for you to. You just got your hands on, I think, on the newest one.
Yeah, Ant-Man, and then Venom got delayed a bit.
Of course, there's plenty of other places you guys know. Of course, always down below. Instagram, Facebook. We have turned away owls. We're now going just to homing pigeons.
Yeah,
we think that's a little better.
Yeah, we'll see. In the future, I'm hoping for maybe griffins.
I'm looking for actually boas. I think no one's going to expect snakes, so that we'll be the first on that train.
Well, they're the best package deliverers. They can carry more.
Yeah, there's a lot of them in the Amazon.
So yeah, leave those comments, people. I hope you're having a good time, and stay tuned because there's some really cool stuff coming up still later in this week, including some Valentine's themed content.
Yep. But once again, thank you so much for leaving your comments and letting us know your thoughts or questions, and we are excited to answer more of them in the future. But until then, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
And this has been the Meeple Gallery.
Make sure you click the like and subscribe buttons so you get more board game content from Roll for Crit.
Do it. Do it now.